Welcome back to True Story with John Gibson. Today we have a really special guest. It's a UFC light heavyweight, Modestas Bukauskas. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, mate. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on, mate.
Of course, man. My pleasure. So, and kind of full transparency, I'm a big fan of Modestas is here, but I think he kind of came onto my radar about maybe 2 years ago. We share a common sponsor, a protein CBD sponsor, and I started following him, and then I was just complete fan immediately because of his fighting style, and I'm just so excited to have you, man, because while I'm really familiar with like your fight record, I just think it's a cool opportunity to get to know you a little bit more as a person, kind of the guy behind the fights.
No doubt, man. Yeah, like we were just talking before, like it's lovely how we create all these connections, especially like you said, like from having a protein sponsor and stuff like that, and now with social media and Instagram and stuff like that. So it's absolutely awesome, man. Like I say, it's good to be talking to you.
Yeah, thank you. I know it makes the world so much smaller, for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So man, like to that end, right? So you're in the UK currently, and I'm in Chicago in the States. Like to that end, man. So I want to learn a little bit about, and now obviously you're a fighter in the UFC, and you've traveled the world already. You know, part of the world. So I know you're of Lithuanian descent, correct? But did you grow up in England, or did you grow up in Lithuania as well?
I like this little catchphrase that I use almost. I say, born in Lithuania but bred in Britain. So I was born there. I lived there till I was about 3 years old, and then I moved to the UK. And yeah, I pretty much, if you can, like most of my childhood, I remember obviously has been in the UK. I mean, I do have like sort of little flashbacks here and there of when I was like really, really young, but obviously I can't remember too much since it was such a long time ago. But I do. I have gone and visited a couple of times and stuff like that, and I'm still very patriotic towards Lithuania, and I still bring out that flag as well as the British flag on my fights. So yeah, man. But then obviously I know when people try and pronounce my name, and before they talk to me, they fully expect me to have like a strong European accent, and then next thing you know, he's probably got the strongest British accent that goes about.
It's a pleasant surprise if you're like me and you're like apprehensive about how you're going to pronounce this. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So man, can you kind of detail like a little bit about kind of your, obviously personally, like what, I guess what attracted you to fighting, and then like how you found MMA? And if you can also, I'm a little bit just curious about what the MMA scene like was there in the UK, what that's what it was like for you.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, I've had a bit of a crazy journey. I've mentioned it on other podcasts that I've been on and stuff like that. But I've pretty much, my dad was a Soviet Union heavyweight no holds bar champion. So he was back in the early days of MMA. He was a badass. So obviously, if I was ever told to clean my room or clean the dishes, there'll be no second guessing. I have to do it straight away. Growing up. But yeah, I mean, look. So obviously, he had his base was basically from kickboxing and sambo, and so he naturally obviously progressed that towards me. And then I started when I was about 5 years old. And at the beginning it was like nice and playful. Oh, look, check out this cool kick or this cool move or whatever. And then about 3 weeks later, it's like, all right, we're training hard now. No more messing about. I'm like,
wow,
here we go.
Quick.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. When I'm like 5 years old, so obviously I've had to learn a lot of things, and be disciplined and stuff like that, which I'm very thankful for now. Obviously, I took a break away from it. I started competing in kickboxing initially. So I was a 4-time British kickboxing champion, 4 different age groups, and then I did a bit of judo, competed at a couple of tournaments there. So like pretty much you can say my whole life has been revolved around martial arts. But like I say, I think I took more of a mental break than anything. I think. My parents just wanted me to try other sports. Obviously, my dad, I don't think he ever really actually wanted. I mean, maybe he just says that just to say that, but I don't know if you actually really wanted me to do MMA in the first place.
Sure.
But my parents, they sort of wanted me to explore other sports. So I played tennis for a little bit, and then I actually played basketball. And I went out to America I lived in the US for 2 years, for
Wow.
between the ages of 16 and 18, to go out and pursue basketball. So I want to try and get a scholarship. I actually think I ended up being a little bit better in American football, but that's
That's
another story.
amazing. Wow.
Yeah, so it's just crazy. So I have a pretty crazy journey, and
Yeah.
but like if I would say when I stopped doing martial arts sort of a bit more seriously as sort of the priority sport, is probably when I was about 12. But I still competed in it all the way till I was 14, even though it wasn't like my main sport, I guess you could say. And I think it was a bit weird for some of some of my other coaches. I'm bringing home medals and trophies from martial arts, and I'm still trying to pursue these other sports. You know what I mean? So. But yeah, I ended up going to America. I had like a Division II school that was scouting me for basketball, but it was nothing really too serious. And then when I got to like 18 years old, it's always been my dream to be a professional sportsman, no matter what it was. So obviously, the next natural progression for me was to go back to MMA, because realistically, that was my last chance to become a professional athlete, which was my dream from a young kid. So I called my dad when I was 18. We were figuring out, should I go to university in America or should I just come home? And he was like, yeah, just come home and we'll get on the MMA journey together again. And then that's it. So here we are. So yeah, it's been an absolutely crazy journey, but I'm very thankful, because all of the different things within almost like the road to where I am now, it's all contributed in positive ways. So obviously I'm very thankful for that.
Thank you for sharing all that, man. So many cool takeaways in that. Like, first I want to give like a shout out to your parents for a couple of things. One, like, what a testament that they were open-minded to exposing you to other sports, right? And like not just getting like hyper focused on any one. So that's cool. You were really diverse: basketball, tennis, like American football. Like, that's really great, man. And then two, it's pretty crazy that it's not crazy, but like it makes total sense that your father was a fighter. But I'm happy to hear that he embraced you fighting later in life. Said, "Hey, man, let's go do this." And that's really cool.
I think he, no matter what, he's always said he just wanted me to be successful no matter what I do. But yeah, he never pushed me and sort of forced me. I guess you could say when I was early on as a kid, I was sort of forced into martial arts. But like I said, I see all the benefits of that now. At the time, when you wanted to play PlayStation, and next thing you know, your dad's like, we're training in half an hour, and you're like, I don't want to train, I just want to play PlayStation. But those are the sort of lessons that I needed that wouldn't have been given to me if I was given the choice. You know what I'm saying? The fact that I had to do it meant that I then became a lot more disciplined later on in life as well. So everything's been a plus. No doubt.
So kind of skipping forward a little bit, you had success and kind of local, and then you moved on. Was it Cage Warriors? And then ultimately became a world champion. What was that like?
Yeah, so right, because I completely skipped out one of your questions about obviously the UK MMA scene.
Oh yeah. I'm just curious. Sure.
Whenever when I sort of started doing MMA, there was one prominent sort of promotion in the UK, which was it's called UCMMA. And the main guy, he was running another show. He also ran another show called BAMA, which is another big sort of organization. Cage Warriors, actually, at the time when I came back home, I think they were under administration, or something happened where they were basically gone. Like something happened and then they weren't there. And then they made a sort of resurgence right around the time that I turned professional. So when I was an amateur, I was an amateur for about 2 years, I guess you could say, two or 3 years, and then after that, I turned professional when I was 21, and right around that time, that's when Cage Warriors came back, and they were making an impact, and they were like the mainstay, sort of European promotion, and everyone was trying to get on there, but the one that was sort of underneath that was quite prominent was called UCMMA, or Ultimate Challenge. And unfortunately, I'm not really sure what's going on with them right now. But at the time, if you're a champion there, you usually go on to do big things. And they had a lot of good fighters that were not necessarily under contract, but they were fighting with them. So that's where I spent my first 5 fights of my career, was with UCMMA. And then after that, that's when I got signed by Cage Warriors. The good thing about Cage Warriors is they look for you to have quite. I mean, I thought it was a little bit strange that they hadn't really before we talked to them. But I wanted to have my first professional fight at Cage Warriors, but apparently they said that I needed to get a couple of wins under my belt. But I'm like, you know, I'm 7-1 as an amateur, and I've got an amateur title. Like, surely, you know, that would equate, because a lot of the guys now that they have fighting for them, some of them that debut on Cage Warriors usually are, you know, quite, like I say, they've done quite well on the amateur scene, and you know, they're either champions there, and then obviously Cage Warriors is their big sort of proving ground, I guess you could say. But yeah, even now, the route to the UFC, the way to do it in Europe is well, mainly for, especially for the UK guys, is to go through Cage Warriors, even though they do have a lot of sort of other European fighters as well. But yeah, if you're talking about the main top European promotion, it's definitely Cage Warriors. When I first signed with them, I have to admit, I had the first fight that I had ended up losing, which, you know, I guess for most people you could say on paper I should have won. It was quite a devastating loss for me because, like I said, I was winning the fight and then I got caught with the right hand. So it was against John Redmond. And, you know, like I say, I think that put a bit of a bitter taste in their mouths early on, because obviously they had expected me to come in and win, and next thing you know I lose, and then he goes crazy and, you know, goes in front of the camera and stuff like that, and, you know, obviously it made them look a little bit bad, I guess you could say. So yeah, and then obviously from that point onwards I wasn't seen as the hot topic anymore, and then I had a lot of things happen to me just in my personal life. You know, I injured myself, so, and it was crazy because when I had that loss and I just made all the adjustments, just got to the point where I've literally, okay, now I'm ready to go in and literally kill anyone. At the end of that year, I ended up tearing my meniscus, and I was like, oh my god! So that was my first major injury. I had to then get an operation to obviously stitch it back together. I split up with a long-time girlfriend, which I'd been dating for about 5 years. That was pretty tough. And then I lost a sponsor, which was basically allowing me to train full time. So I mean, I had no money, no job. I was literally just left in the dark. So that was a very hard time for me. So like everything bad all just seemed to happen all in one spot, which sucked.
How did you turn that around? Because you became a world champ. You dominated.
Yeah. And this is the thing, and the whole time, you know, obviously Cage Warriors were pumping out, you know, massive shows and getting guys into the UFC and stuff like that. So, like I said, they would like that promotion that you wanted to fight for. And technically, I was still under contract with them. So, whether they liked it or not, they had to give me a fight. But you know, when I came back for injury, it's just I had to take small victories, if you will. You know, I had a lot of support from obviously my family, you know, my stepmom, my dad, you know, my sister, people that are very close to me. And if it wasn't for them, you know, there was times where I was literally sitting in my room and just crying, because I'm like, why? I did not expect my career to go this way. I didn't expect, you know, I knew that things were going to be tough, and you know, I thought I'd face all the tough times in training. Unfortunately, I've had to face it in the actual competition, which is something that I wasn't even really that properly used to, because, like I said, in martial arts, I've always been known to do well. So for me to have such a bit of a bump in the road was, like, you know, it's very devastating. But you know, like I said, slowly I got the operation done on the NHS. Thank God to the National Health Service, because they did an amazing job. In 1 week after me having the MRI, they straight away got me an operation, got it fixed. It was about a 4-month recovery. I did recover a lot faster than most, just because I took it so seriously. Every day that I was getting better, everything just seemed to be going better on in my life. You know, I just managed to get a job. I got my PT qualification, found a great workplace, and then slowly we started building back, and then it came to the point where I was supposed to look for a fight. I wanted to look for a fight at that point. So then, you know, we asked Cage Warriors, no answer. We probably called them quite a load of times. My dad messaged them and everything, and then no answer every single time. So we were like, we even asked them, can we take a kickboxing fight just so that we can fight? No answer. So we just did what we did. We went and had a kickboxing fight, and and then next, yeah, exactly. We had to do something. I needed to compete somehow, and luckily that's what got their attention. I remember making the post after I'd won. I actually tagged Cage Warriors in it, and then literally about a week later, we got a call from them saying, we've got a fight for you. It's like,
there you go.
I was like, oh, that's madness. That, you know, that's actually, you know, it's taken for me to come back from injury. We told them that we're going to be ready and this and that. They completely did not give a crap. And then I win a kickboxing fight. I think it was about 20 seconds. I spinning back kicked him and won the fight. And then next thing you know, after I win that, then it finally got their attention. I got the fight. And then it was another, like I said, I was never really promoted very highly with them. I can understand from their point of view. They had their managed guys and stuff like that, and obviously I'd lost that first fight, so they didn't have any much backing for me. But I started winning fights.
You turned that around, though. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you turned that
exactly.
around
I
with highlight reel kind of highlights. Yeah,
and I corrected all the errors in my game, and slowly every fight was just getting better and better. And then it got to a point again where they couldn't find me a fight again, so we had the one fight release just so I could go and have a fight. I went to Fight Star Championship and won the belt there. And then afterwards, my dad goes, listen, we don't want just any fight. We want something difficult. We want something to test ourselves. Like, give us a fight to prove ourselves is basically what we said. And then that's when they did that. They, at the end of the day, I've got to give them a massive credit, because every time we had asked them for something, they'd given it to us. No matter what we said, that it basically just depended on us coming through and pulling out a victory. And if everything went well, they'll keep doing good things for us. So they found us Master Wojciech, which was, again, another spinning back kick victory for myself after being down on the scorecards. So that was a big victory, because he was a massive name in Poland, and the fact that I beat him was a massive shock to pretty much most of Europe. So and even a shock to Cage Warriors, I think, the fact that I ended up winning that fight. So that was the first fight to basically say I'm here and I'm here to do business, right?
Sure.
And then they offered me the Hamlet fight, which was obviously the world title fight, and again I was something ridiculous. Like the odds at the beginning, I was such a massive underdog. Like, it was actually like, I couldn't even believe it myself. And it was mad, because again, I thought Cage Warriors were pulling more for this guy to win, because it would set him up to then go and win the belt and go sign to the UFC, because they had an event in Copenhagen. All politics type stuff. Look, I get it. It's understandable. At the end of the day, you can be bitter, but use that bitterness then to go and compete at the best level. And that's exactly what I did.
Right.
For me, it was such a massive thing, because even 4 weeks before the fight, I quit my job, and I just used the money that I had. And I said, because there was an opportunity for me to be sponsored again. But the only, the catch was I'd have to win that fight in order to get that. So I literally just put through all my cards on the table and said, all right, I'm gonna quit my job. I'm just gonna get ready for this fight. Put my full concentration. Literally visualize about it every day. And I'm
so glad, knowing how the story worked out. Like, that worked out for you, because I believe in all of it. And
I appreciate it, man.
That's beautiful. Like, you manifested it. Like, that's amazing. So. And I don't want to skip forward too much, but so, I mean, ultimately you got signed with the UFC. You were the man who was able to, during a pandemic, travel to Abu Dhabi and be on the inaugural ESPN card. I mean, do these amazing things and win. Not only did you win, but you won in a spectacular way. TKO, performance of the night. I mean, can you share like the whole Fight Island experience?
Yeah, it was extremely well run. I have to, admittedly, the second time we went, it was a lot smoother, just because obviously the UFC already knew what the hell it is that they were doing and how things were supposed to. But even then, the way that they done it was absolutely amazing. Now, when we went out there, it was about 40 degrees outside. That's in Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but I swear it must be like 110 Fahrenheit or something.
Plus,
like, it was hot as hell out there. That was one thing that was definitely vividly that I could remember. But like the way that the UFC treated us was second to none. Like, this is why, for any aspiring fighters, the UFC is where it's at, because I'm pretty sure no other promotion treats their fighters the way that they do. They had all my physio sorted. They had all my meals sorted with Trifecta and, the PI. Like, they did everything for you. Like, even walking in and getting my fight kit with my name on it, and having the jacket with the Lithuanian emblem on it and stuff like that. Like, it was a massive thing to me, because all my life's work has been sort of leading up to the moment of actually fighting and performing in the UFC. So it was quite a massive thing. Like, it was surreal, but at the same time, it's like, this is what I wanted. This is the steps that I wanted. But then when it finally happens, you're like, oh my God, like, you know, you can believe it and you can't believe it at the same time. And madness that, you know, I've always seemed to have to fight some sort of adversity in my life. But I had bursitis, like really bad on my left knee.
Wow.
I almost thought like, how the hell am I going to be able to fight with this? Like literally, they done like promotional photos before the event, and I swear I must have had at least 20 plus messages messaging me saying, Modestas, you're all right. You're going to be able to fight. Like, what's going on? And I obviously just kept my mouth shut and said nothing. Didn't answer no one's messages. But yeah, my knee was like quite massive. But again, it was a massive thank you to the UFC for, you know, their physio. Like literally, I could go in and have an appointment every single day with the guy, and he'd work on it, tell me what I needed to do, and they got the swelling down massively before the fight. So it was a massive credit to them. Like I said, anything you need, they're literally there waiting just to help anyone out. And you know, what's better than being at the W Hotel? You know, I swear, it's 5/6-star hotel. You know, loads of celebrities go there. The rooms were absolutely amazing. You know, the food was great, obviously with trifecta for me and stuff like that. The whole scene, just going to that beach and that cage on the beach and everything, all this stuff that had just been talked about, and now you're actually seeing it and living it in real life. Like, it was madness. Like, it was definitely a great way to have my debut in the UFC for sure.
Sure. I mean, and you're making history, you're being on Fight Island as well. But talking a little bit about the performance, I had no idea about the knee injury. That's because, you know, your kickboxing looked wonderful. Obviously, those elbows are just lethal. Have you trained extensive Muay Thai as well? I just feel like it's such an important part of your game.
Yeah, no, it's realistically, it's all my dad. Like, if I really say 100% like where all my striking comes from, and not just my striking, but you know, predominantly since I was, you know, a little kid, was my dad that taught me everything. And we're actually practicing the elbows because I'd won the cage. I defended the Cage Warriors belt with those same elbows, so we just went along the same line and they just kept practicing them because we knew that we'd have to defend some sort of takedown at some point. So we just practiced we practiced all the moves to defend the takedown, but then also my dad was just working on me with the strikes and like the correct placement and stuff like that.
Exactly. They were completely legal. Yeah,
exactly. And how to sort of generate enough power in such a small space and stuff like that. So yeah, we had been working on it. If you're talking about my performance overall on the night, it's like, I feel I mean, listen, you can't take anything away. Obviously, you know, winning the 50 grand bonus and you know, getting the performance of the night and winning and stuff like that, and winning your debut. But I definitely felt like I could have performed better. But at the same time, I do not feel like I had any sort of, you know, stage fright or jitters. It felt just like a regular fight. It felt natural. It felt normal to me. And, you know, obviously it's pretty cool, you know, Bruce Buffer shouting your name and stuff like that. You know, these are things that literally like dreams are made of. But yeah, if you're talking about the performance itself, I've already now, like even now, you know, I'm going to be having my 4th fight in the UFC. So I'm literally now is at the point where I really feel I'm starting to blossom and shine and get the most out of my skill set, where previously I did not. So I'm looking forward to my next performance for sure.
Well, that was my next question. Do you know when? Do you have a date, or do you have any?
I do, but unfortunately, at the minute, I have to keep it under wraps. My manager told me not to say anything, but just know that I'll be fighting very soon. The contract has been signed, and I think it'll be a very fun fight for the fans for sure. And yeah, like I say, I can't wait. I've been making a lot of adjustments to my game, and what I realized, like for sure, is that there was never a necessary discrepancy in skill set that didn't allow me to, you know, have the best performances in my last 2 fights. It was more just of how to use your skill set in the best way. And I can definitely 100% say that already now. And, I'm going to, obviously I've got time till my next fight to sort of work on things as well still, but I already feel I'm starting to really shape into the fighter that I know is going to be a title contender at some point.
That's great. Yeah. You know, you're one of my favorite fighters, contemporary fighters, obviously. And like, I think you're incredibly dynamic. And I was watching a couple of your fight highlights just in preparation to us talking today. And it's really funny as I watch you fight in clips. I think a lot of John Jones because light heavyweight, same division. You use your height, I feel like, really well. You come in and out really quick, but then you have those crazy elbows where they're just like you don't anticipate these things coming. But when I was thinking about it later while I wasn't watching you, and there is a question in this, I promise. I was thinking, you know what, though? You kind of remind me of like Lee Murray a little because of the punching power in the distance, like the way you do your jabs and stuff. Have you ever heard that before, or am I just saying it because he was British?
I definitely think you're the first one to say that. I'm
really
similar to Lee Murray. Yeah.
Wow.
But I definitely take that as a massive compliment. Thank you.
Wow, man! I just really good. I'm glad you're not good. I'm glad you're complimented. Yeah, I just feel like your punching power because I knew for sure you had I knew you had a storied kickboxing background and like you could see that. And again, but you're dynamic and with those elbows and stuff. So that was why I was wondering about the Muay Thai, but you have punching power. So that's why I think I made that correlation.
Yeah, that connection. Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I definitely as well. I say this all the time, but I've yet to really even show or I guess you could say unlock my full potential. A lot of my fights I've had to sort of learn on the job. Like I definitely felt throughout my Cage Warriors career, I had to learn on the job, but those learning lessons came quick for me. And then I was able to then perform at the highest level. And I feel like that's almost the same with my UFC career. It's unfortunate that I've had to learn on the job because, you know, you'd sort of want to have those lessons already learned to sort of be able to, like I say, put on the better performances. But I'm glad that I've had the fights that I've had, and I'm really looking forward to my next one. But I definitely feel like I've made the correct adjustments to really show my full potential. I've been talking about that a lot, and I feel like it's almost it's worse, you know, losing when you know you're capable of a lot more. Sure. And I feel like definitely in my last fight I was able to show more of that, but still not to the extent that I know I can do it. But it's just a case of knowing how to use the tools in the box. So yeah, and I think that my career in itself is definitely a testament to sort of going back to the drawing board, sort of figuring out what you need to do in terms of making those adjustments and those improvements, and then putting them out there in the fight. But I definitely feel I'm going to be the most comfortable in the next fight and be able to show out, you know, like I say, my full potential. Yeah. I think every fighter, you know, probably says after a fight they think, oh, I didn't fight as well as I could have, or maybe it was a good performance, but you know, they felt they could have done more things that were working well in training that they weren't necessarily able to do. But I definitely think there's a lot more for me to show, and I
believe it.
Yeah,
I believe you. Yeah, and you're very young, and honestly, as just a fan on the peripheral, I believe it makes total sense what you're saying to me, like learning on the job, because we've been able to see the evolution for sure. Like definitely been able to see improvements from fight to fight. It's very transparent in a great way. I mean, that very complimentary. Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much, man. Yeah. No, it's a crazy journey, but do you know what? There's another thing that I definitely learned throughout just in life in general, and as well, is that, you know, everyone's journey is different. You know what I mean? Like some people can go out on a tear, win all their fights, and, you know, like Khabib, and never lose a fight. And, you know, they've already made they make their mistakes, more of their mistakes in training, and they're able to put it out more in the event. But you've got to remember that everyone's journey is personal to themselves, and then you've got to remember you are trying to be the best that you can be and do the best that you can do, and really no one else matters. Never to sort of compare yourself to other people. Obviously look up to people for inspiration, but at the same time, remember, it's your journey, it's what you're doing, and you just got to figure out the pieces to your puzzles to bring the best out of yourself. And definitely once I learned that lesson, I think it's definitely helping with all aspects of life, really.
Yes. Yeah, they say comparison is the thief of joy, right?
Yeah.
I love that, man. Very inspirational words too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you again, you know, for joining me. I know we're coming up on time, but any last words or any maybe word? I mean, that was inspirational enough, but is there anything maybe you'd like to share? Or also, where can people contact you if they have questions or want to follow you for your next fight or anything?
Yeah, so on Twitter, it's at Baltic Gladiator. Funny how I actually got that nickname. Like, it's weird because I was thinking about that I was thinking about like what can I call myself? Like, you know, I've had some weird ones. I've had the incinerator, Mo Money as well. Like, to be honest, that was one that I came up with
I like
myself. I
that
try
one.
and ping it onto
Pro
someone else,
wrestling.
but anyways, you know, like I've had some funny ones and stuff like that, and then nothing was really sticking, or if one name that I had someone else already had, or something like that. And then next thing you know, like just a Lithuanian fan actually who does artwork put up a post on one post that I done on my Instagram and made like a little edit, and then he wrote the gladiator from the Baltic states or something. I was like, do you know what? That's actually quite catchy. I like that. The Baltic Gladiator. And then next thing you know, that's how that was sort of born. So yeah, I'm actually glad that I was actually able to find one, because I swear if it wasn't for that moment, to this day I probably wouldn't have had a nickname. And so it was crazy how that came up. But so that's my Twitter, and then on Instagram it's just at MODYB24, and then that's pretty much it. And then if anyone can manage to spell my name on Facebook, you can have that on Facebook as well.
Yeah, and I'll have all the links included at the bottom
Awesome.
as well. Man, thank you so much again for joining me. This was a great conversation. I appreciate getting the opportunity to learn so much more about your background. And, you know, normally this show I get to interview or speak to a lot of like fighters or BJJ athletes that are they've retired. So you have so much more of your story to tell, and it's going to be so cool to sit back and kind of watch this. So thank you.
Oh, mate. I really appreciate it, brother. Like I said, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you. You're a really nice guy to talk to. Obviously, you got good energy about you, and that's it. You know, I love working with people like good energy. So yeah, it was really nice chatting to you. And thank you so much for obviously inviting me, man.
Of course, my pleasure. Again, thank you.
Nice one, brother. You have a good evening, yeah?
See you. Take care.